My name is Gorik Bal. I'm a second year MHA student at Tulane University. I'm joined by Mohnish Sawant. He's also a second year MHA student. And we have a privilege of having Dr. Stranova here. He's our faculty for a Master in Health Administration. We are here to interview him today. Dr. Stranova, we have a few questions for you today, and thank you for joining us and giving your valuable time for this interview.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
First question we have is, how did you discover public health?
Ooh, that's a long story. So basically I can claim that I was kind of born into it. So my father was a healthcare administrator at the VA healthcare system. And so as I was growing up, my father was moving through the system, and every 2 or 3 years we would move to a new city. He would be in the hospital leadership, and what I would do is I would actually volunteer at each of these hospitals. And this happened all the way through my junior high school, and I grew up in these hospitals. I thought they're the most fascinating kind of organizations out there. So much going on, such an impact on the community, the patients, of course. And so that's how I got into it. And then I went to undergraduate school at Tufts University, and I was a history major, but I also was a community health minor. And after I graduated from undergrad, I had an opportunity to go to Washington, D.C., which for a 3-month internship with a disabilities group called Paralyzed Veterans of America. And they had hired me on as a healthcare researcher, and they asked me to look at state healthcare reforms, which was kind of a growing area about that time. So we're talking about the early 90s, and at that time, this is going way back here, a little history lesson, the Clinton healthcare plan was being developed. So the First Lady, Hillary Clinton at the time, was trying to put together a universal healthcare proposal, and she was drawing a lot from the state healthcare reforms. And the organization didn't have anybody looking at the state level healthcare reforms, and so when my 3 months started ticking away, they said, can you stay here? I said, sure. And so they gave me an analyst position, and I thought that I'd stay maybe doing that for a year, 2 years. I always knew I would want to go back to graduate school to get my MHA and to go into hospital operations. And so I enjoyed it so much. I was doing some really cool activities while I was there in Washington, D.C. I was writing congressional testimony. I was publishing papers, other publications. It was just a really cool time to be in healthcare policy in the early to mid 90s. I'd go up on Capitol Hill and do drops. It was really exciting. So 1 year turned into 2 years, turned into 4 years, and finally I was like, I've got to make a break here and start and go to graduate school. So I applied to many graduate schools and got into a lot of graduate schools, but I chose Tulane mostly because I thought it was the best program for me, because it was really focused in on skill building, experiential learning. They had practitioner scholar model, meaning that most of the faculty had worked in healthcare administration, and that's what I want to do. A lot of the other schools that I was fortunate enough to get into were more policy based, and at that point I had enough doing policy work, and so I wanted to go into healthcare administration. So I did that, came here, and did my 2 years as an MHA student. Was fortunate enough to get a administrative residency at the Tulane Medical Center, which at that time had been relatively recently purchased by HCA Healthcare. And so a lot of opportunities in that system for a person who wanted to get into health administration. And so I started working with the CEO in the CEO's office, doing some really cool projects. One project, as a matter of fact, kind of changed my whole, career, as a matter of fact. So since we're talking about pathways to public health here, I'll explain how I got to this position here, teaching here, because I never thought in a million years I would be a professor, making a living, by talking, by teaching. But one of the projects I was doing as a healthcare resident, the CEO had asked me to look at this academic affiliation agreement, do some research, and which was basically the contract between Tulane and HCA. And as I was researching this question she had asked me about this affiliation agreement, I came across an interesting little blurb about how the School of Public Health was supposed to sponsor several doctoral students and placements every year, and they had never done that. Nobody knew anything about this reciprocal kind of relationship between the hospital and the school. And so I saw that, and I said, I went to the CEO, and I said, hey, look, here's the answer to your question, but I got something else to ask you. See this? The hospital is supposed to be receiving, at least full doctoral scholarships and students each year. And she said, she was surprised. She's like, I didn't know that. Really? I said, yeah. And I go, what about, can I take one of these, And fortunately, the CEO at the time, she was very into education, and she was very enthusiastic about that, and she said, sure, and she allowed me to actually, leave work and come across the street and take classes when I needed to do that. She gave me some days off to do research later on. She extended my fellowship, and I ended up, getting to a point where I finished the classes, finished my comps, and it was time to take a real job within the hospital. And so I went from the CEO's office to the med-surg floors. Went from dealing with high-level CEOs to being on the front lines of healthcare and running these 3 large med-surg floors, sleep lab, pulmonary, etc. So I was working 60 hours at the hospital. I had to make a decision whether I wanted to continue with my dissertation or continue with working. And so I decided to take a year off to do research, finish my dissertation. And so I did that. And right in about mid-August 2005, I was called by the chief nursing officer of Tulane and said, hey, are you interested in coming back to Tulane Hospital? I said, yeah, this is perfect. I'm just about to finish my dissertation. And so I came in for an interview. They basically offered me the job. They said there will be expect your offer letter to come in the mail next week. And between my interview and that next week, Hurricane Katrina hit. And so I had to stay on the road for a little bit longer, came back to a very different New Orleans. It was challenging, but there was a lot of opportunities there. So I started working for Ochsner, healthcare system here, running their cardiology services, and had another kind of twist in my public health pathway. So I was actually at Jazz Fest, and I ran into an old professor of mine from this department. And he said to me, he said, oh, I know you just finished your dissertation. What do you think about coming back to the department and teaching? And I said, no way. And I said, I'm at a very good spot here at Ochsner. They're expanding. This is what I always wanted to do. I grew up in the hospitals. And so I kind of left it at that moment. But then as soon as I started walking away, I had this little voice in my head, and it was kind of the what if, So I started, it just started getting louder and louder. So I started thinking, I know what the life of a healthcare administrator is, but I'm not sure what would it be like to be a professor, to actually teach and try to, help the next generation of leaders. And that what if just got bigger and bigger and bigger and louder and louder and louder in my head. And I was like, you know what? It's back then in New Orleans was kind of crazy. It was kind of like the Wild West. You had people doing all these job changes. You had lawyers quitting their job to bake cakes. You had you had bankers leaving banking to make jewelry. I mean, it just felt like you could do just about anything, and they kind of expected to do something different here in New Orleans. And so I said, you know what? I'm going to do it. So I called up, my old professor. I said, sure, I'll throw my hat in, and came here and interviewed, as a newly graduated, person. And they said, all right, we've got a spot for you. And so I started teaching. That was 16 years ago, and it was the greatest decision I've made in my life. So it's been here for a long time, and I've had the ability to work with great students like yourself and hopefully help craft that new generation of leadership. So that's my pathway. It's a little twisted, long one there.
So Dr. Stranova, you mentioned that you've been teaching for 16 years, and it seems like you haven't looked back since. So currently, what areas of public health are you working in now?
So I really concentrate on healthcare administration, kind of leadership, skill-based kind of instruction. So right now I'm teaching 3 different classes. I teach both in person on campus and also online. So the first class that I teach is the introductory class to health policy, systems, and management. I love that class because it's I call it a class on current affairs. So it's I teach it just about every semester, and I'm always adding to it, changing it around because we're dealing with issues that people are concerned with in their lives. So we talk about the healthcare system, law, policy, leadership, ethics in this class, and it's a lot of fun to teach because I feel like I learn as much as from the students and their reactions to the material and their papers. We do debate nights than they may be getting from myself. So that's one class that I teach. The other class I teach, another class I teach is managerial communication. So I teach that on campus and online. You both have been in that class. So I enjoy teaching that class because I feel like I can really make a difference in people's writing and presentation skill levels. So as you remember, we do a lot of presentations. We tape them. We give a lot of feedback. Same with the writing, and so I feel I like that class because I can see the progression from the first presentation, the first paper, all the way through to the end, and just the skill level that is built is just easily observable. So I feel very fulfilled when I do that class, and it works really well online too. And then the third class, which you're currently in, is my strategic management of healthcare organizations class. And so, as you know, that's kind of our capstone class. And I like teaching that because it's we're really dealing with real life skills, knowledge. I like how the students are able to choose a real life organization and then walk through that whole process of building a strategic plan. I think everything goes kind of hand in glove. Talk about the external environment, we do analysis, the internal environment analysis, then we go into the directional strategies. Soon we'll be going into strategy development, then strategy selection, and then implementation strategies. And everything, I built it out so everything kind of fits hand in glove. So we have those worksheets which help collect the information in each of those stages and organize it. Then we have those mini presentations that we do for our board of directors that kind of bring that theme together, and then that all feeds into that final presentation and project. And they're always interesting. I mean, people really, usually the last semester, I'm always really impressed with the students and how they're able to take all this information, digest it, and come out with this really good analysis. And so it's fun for me too because it's very interactive. It's it's a little less lecturing and more working with students, and I feel like I'm more of a consultant role than a professor role, and we do that online too. So that's what I do here, and that's what I really enjoy doing. So, and of course, working with the students when I can with the administrative residency, placements, and career discussions with my advisees. So it's very rewarding.
As a Tulane grad years ago, and just with your day-to-day interactions with students as well, is there one piece of advice that you would offer prospective students as they start to consider their graduate journeys?
Yeah, I'd say to be passionate about what you're doing, all right? So, and I think students who are passionate, know they want to make a difference, have a mission mentality, are the ones who succeed in this program. I think a lot of people who are considering careers in public health don't always think about or understand what healthcare administration does. So a lot of people are like, oh, those are the business people, I've got a tie on, they don't care about anything but making money. But you couldn't be any more wrong about what we do, as as healthcare administrators, whether you're working in a hospital, a clinic, creating health policy, working with insurers, consultants, you're making a difference systematically. You have the ability to affect not just one or two people, but groups of people, communities. And so if you don't have that passion, if you are just like, I'll just, MHA sounds good because I know that people make a lot of money as healthcare administrators, you're not going to succeed in this program. You're not going to succeed in your career. You have to have that, that passion, that understanding that you are making a difference as a healthcare administrator, and you have an important role in a lot of people's lives and in the communities that surround you. So. That'd be my advice.
Yeah, thank you so much. And thank you for your time again today. We really appreciate kind of learning your journey to the start of public health and where you are now and your important contributions to the HPM department. So.
Oh, well, thank you. Well, thank you all for taking the time to sit down and talk with me. I appreciate it.